Let's talk teal. It all started back a few years ago when we were going to Sheboygan to see a Barrow's goldeneye.
So I actually remember this going back even further because there had been sporadic reports of cinnamon teals, but it was always in like not a great spot. There was one reported where it was you had to stand on like a hill and you were overlooking these cattails and it would once in a while come out and then it would go back under. And so the kind of cameras we use, you can't necessarily, it's not like a scope where you're going to see it from miles away, so we didn't really want to go for anything that was too distant of a view. So I remember there were some of those reports and they would always just be kind of sporadic, only for like a day or two at most.
We tried to find a Barrow's goldeneye. It flew off like 5 minutes before we got there, and then our secondary option was to go see this hybrid cinnamon teal, blue-winged teal at a pond that was supposed to be closed, and we whiffed on that too. And at that point it was kind of like, okay, whatever, it was a hybrid, we'll probably see one at some other point.
I wasn't too beat up about that. It wasn't like we made a specific trip to see that bird.
A couple got sighted in between then and the next time we tried for one, but it really escalated a few years later. Fast forward to 2020, and a cinnamon teal gets reported in Jefferson, which is about 45 minutes away from the city that we live in.
It was at this big lake that we'd been to before to look for something that we didn't find. So going back to a place where you haven't seen the bird you've been looking for, it already sets you off on the bad foot. You're like, oh, I hate this place. We never see what we're looking for here. And when we showed up, there were already a bunch of birders, like really good birders there with big scopes and you know, who are reliable. And they're like, yeah, we searched and we didn't see it.
It's not there. So we think, okay, that's fine. We just missed on it again, whatever. We're going to go hang out at Horicon Marsh for the rest of the day and see what we can find there.
I was like, oh, right, we should check the rare bird reports while we're out, because sometimes they'll go home and then be like, oh, there was something back, you know, where we were.
Then all of a sudden we get a report, cinnamon teal has been seen in Madison. So we drive like slightly over an hour to get to Madison from Horicon Marsh.
It was at the UW-Madison Arboretum. We never know where to go there because it's this huge place. And Madison birders, they have these like names for certain places that they all know, but I don't know if anyone else really knows what they are. Like maybe it's just us, maybe it's other people.
Not a fan of the Arboretum at all.
It took us a while to find out where exactly to go, and I remember I dropped my camera out of the car that day and it just like skidded on the ground. And I was like, that's not a good sign.
So we walk out there's a group of birders. So we're thinking, okay, this is cool, we're gonna get this bird. It might not be in the best light because that's how the picture showed, but that's fine. We're gonna finally get a cinnamon teal.
And then they were like, oh, a bald eagle was just here like 5 minutes ago and scared everything.
And the cinnamon teal scattered with a bunch of other birds.
And I'm pretty sure they said that the bald eagle came and actually took a duck. And so I was like, sometimes when rare birds come through, people suspect that they might be sick or something's wrong with them. That's why they're out of their range. So it's possible that it could have got picked off by this eagles. That made it even worse. We're like, if we stay here, it might not even come back.
Birds kind of circled through, kept popping back up, kept getting scared again because the same bald eagle would circle around. And after about maybe 45 minutes, we figured this is enough. Let's head out and maybe another time.
And then later that night, I was checking the rare bird reports and someone was like, oh, it came back like 30 minutes, I think, after we left. So that was frustrating that we weren't able to see it.
The cinnamon teal is back at the Arboretum.
I was like, we could go back right now and it'd only be an hour and maybe we could get it.
And at that point we just said, no, never mind, we're done with that. So then fast forward again. I think this was a few days later or the next day, there's a report of the cinnamon teal up in Collins Marsh.
We took the drive up there and that's kind of a haul for us.
I think it's like an hour and 47 minutes or something. And we, at this point, have tried so many times to see this teal, which is probably the same cinnamon teal that's just moving up north through the state. So we go to Collins Marsh, we drive the distance, it's starting to kind of get late, the light's starting to fade a little bit. So we go to the spot that it was allegedly seen.
And it was looking out over this field and then a river that went under a train track trestle. So the way it was organized, you could see the river go under the trestle, and then it kind of went behind that mounded land where the train track was. So you couldn't see a stretch of the river. So it could be in there, and there's not really another way to see it. So it could be hiding there, and you would never know.
There's hardly any room to see anything.
And cinnamon tails seem to love cattails and reeds. So if they get in that kind of scrubby stuff, you're probably not going to see them.
And we see a guy looking, and he has not seen the cinnamon teal either. So with only that little bit of water that it could possibly be in, the chances of it being either gone down river, not visible, or flown away are very high.
But it had been seen like 15 minutes earlier. Like other people we knew had been there and seen it. And so we just had no idea where it was.
We are kind of just thinking we missed it again at this point, but we decided to look around anyway, Collins Marsh.
There's this cool walkway we ended up taking. I'm like, well, we're here. We might as well check out some other cool stuff. So it was a really pretty sunset.
But we circled back around. We talked to some other birders. We looked at some stuff. The light's going down. We don't have that much time left anyway. So we're planning on just hanging out of there and going home.
We met some other birders in some other areas, and we're like, we're going to give it one last look. And they were like, oh, let us know if you find it. And we're like, yeah, we will. So we walked over by where it was found, and one of the other birders who'd been there before we got there was like, oh, I just saw it a second ago.
You just see this cinnamon teal kind of floating along past the railroad tracks, where you can barely make it out, but you can see it through your camera or your binoculars. So we got it on that view. Through here, it's right in the back.
Oh, dang! I can't believe it. Cinnamon teal. Ryan had eyes on it right away, and I finally got a look at it just for like a few seconds. But it's this bright orange bird. It's really distinctive, so you know it if you see it. You're like, yep, that's a cinnamon teal. So as soon as we saw it, I'm like, oh, it's gonna stay for a bit and like hang out because it was a lot closer than I thought it would be.
It drifted out of sight no more than 5 to 10 seconds later.
So we went and tracked down the other birders real quick and like waved at them, try to get their attention to come over. And then when I went to relocate it, nobody could find it again. So it was just a few seconds. That's probably one of the birds that I've seen that I've got the worst views of. It was kind of like an unfulfilling look, but we saw it, so that's cool.
But it got it off of our list of nemesis birds.
We got it briefly, so it counts. So, life for her. Quite the expedition, and then I was like, we need to go to Taco Bell and buy some cinnamon twists in honor of the cinnamon teal, because you only get your first cinnamon teal once. So we went and did that, and it was a good memory. Cinnamon teal.